Okay, so I have a group show coming up in August, and the theme is survival, and I had planned to use the large mural shaped canvas that I'm doing of the West Sacramento birds as my painting for that show, but then I looked at the calendar and I realized it's due in 2 weeks. So I'm scaling back and I'm doing another animal themed painting here. And I've looked in my photos from the Seattle Aquarium and I found this lovely little hermit crab. And so I'm painting the hermit crab here on, what size is this? 16 by 20. And I'm working in oil. First, I did a gridded up drawing in pencil on the canvas. And one thing I discovered, when you put a layer of pencil down on your canvas first and then you use oil paint over the top of that, you end up smearing your pencil all over the place. So I have to put a layer in between the pencil and the oil paint. And the layer that I use is called Clear Gesso. I'm using Liquitex brand for that. And it does a beautiful job of holding the pencil in place. And then I can put my oil over the top. So what I've done here is I've decided on a basic color palette of a golden, orange, yellow, and a teal blue. And I'm just putting a very thin layer down at first, which is called the Imprimatura in oil painting. That basically means first layer. And in this case, what I am using to mix with a very thick oil paint is a combination of Gamblin's Neo McGilp, which helps the paint get thinner but also dry faster. And I'm also using a lot of paint thinner. In my case, I'm using Gamsol, which is also from Gamblin, and also helps the paint dry faster as well as make it nice and thin and runny. I want to be able to keep seeing my pencil lines through it, but just generally get the basic colors down. So that's what I have here. You can see it kind of is running into itself. It starts sliding around on the canvas when it gets really runny, and I've got it upright like this. And it's not dry yet when I put this second layer on, but I do want it to kind of mix with the colors below, and it's still very, very thin here, but I realized I want to make a very dark, strong color in the background here. One last thing I wanted to mention here is I was using a paper towel to lift out the brightest parts of the shell. They're in the blue area. More next time. I'm apologizing in advance for how much my giant head got in the way of the painting today. So here I am starting to mix my colors. I'm going to flip the script. Originally the background was in the oranges and the hermit crab was in the green and turquoisey regions, and now I'm going to be layering over the opposite colors over top. So I'm working in the background and the rock that the hermit crab is sitting on today. Here I am mixing my colors with Neo McGilp, which lets them dry faster and thins them out a little bit so I don't have thick application of paint on the canvas. And there's my head. But you can see here I'm going over the yellow orangish rock with sort of a greenish yellow. Now moving into the greens and then eventually into the turquoises here. I'm going crisscrossy every which way with the brush to create texture, and now over the top of that I am doing shadows of the textures of the rocks, doing shadows of the hermit crab. And here's my deep turquoise going in to do the cast shadow from the hermit crab. For the background, I'm adding radiant white to get more of a turquoise instead of a blue out of this phthalo turquoise, and I'm adding in a bit of orange because I don't want this to be a pure color in the background. The background should be a little bit grayer as you move into the distance. And I'm adding the cadmium red light to the greenish color. And here goes my background. I'm really mixing up the colors here. I really want to give the feel of wateriness, lighter at the top, darker toward the bottom. And I have lots of leftover paint after I do both the rock and the background, so I'm painting my edges. Last touch today, I'm going to use some Q-tips to go in and pull out some of the color and reveal the color below. that has mostly dried from yesterday. Lots of Q-tipping all over the place. And now I'm using my palette knife to scrape back so that you can see some of the orange underneath as well. Scratchy, scratchy. And a close-up so you can see the oranges. Why did I put those oranges in the background to start with? Well, now they're glowing through all this beautiful green, turquoise, bluish stuff. More next time. Part 3 on the hermit crab in oil on canvas. And I am beginning the second layer of paint color on the shell and the hermit crab himself. And I really apologize for the glare here. I'm still trying to figure out my tripod setup for oil painting on the table easel. But what I want to do here is get the darkest darks in, and I am going over the initial turquoise color with my oranges now, my orange reds and yellows. Just the darkest spots, some kind of transitioning some of them into lighter areas, but I'm just hitting the shadows this time. What you see me holding in my left hand here is called a Maul Stick, and that is keeping my arm off of the wet paint that is still wet in the background there, all those greens and turquoises that I did in the background in part 2. I do not want to start lifting that up on my arm, so I rest my arm on the Maul Stick, and the Maul Stick is kind of rested over in a corner that's dry. It has a padded end so that it doesn't scratch the canvas. So this is at 25 times speed. It's going pretty fast here in the TikTok video, but I was going pretty slowly here. And what you can't tell from the glare is that these are fairly dark red oranges, and there are multiple colors going on in here. What you saw in my palette at the beginning is that I have a shade of India yellow, I have cadmium red light, which is actually kind of a dark orange, and then I have cadmium orange. And I am adding a little bit of the phthalo turquoise to the darker two colors to mute them down a little bit. I don't want pure colors there. I will probably put a few pure colors in the composition in some key spots, but not everywhere. So there's another few seconds here of this 25 times speed, and then you will see a close-up scanning the work that I've done here on the hermit crab, and then an overall image. More next time.
Bye.